Hey guys, Mustached here. Welcome to episode 4 of The Last of Us. It's called Secrets. So, now that the dip of the episode prior has accumulated, we are now in Seattle, day 1. We start with a sort of a prelude to one of the different groups. WLF at some prior point, or like the pre-militia group before WLF may even have started, a guest starring one Josh Peck, interestingly enough. So he's up there gabbing and being typecasted as that sort of semi-goofy guy, as it were. And the group leader, Isaac, proceeds to, when they arrive at a destination that is blocked, kill the rest of the military group, his own military group, mind you, with keeping one alive. After meeting another group of individuals, it would appear. And I guess this group, mixed with this other group, somehow form WLF. We then cut to the present, where Dina and Ellie are in Seattle, day 1, as now mentioned. And this is where they reach the I guess it's like a radio tower or station of sorts, and they see how the Seraphites have gotten some kills on their end as well, and sort of the side B plot as we're continuing to follow Isaac is he is torturing a Seraphite to know where they're attacking next. Thus, as Ellie and Dina see how this area is, at least initially, empty when they arrive. However, the WLF soon arrive shortly after. So this is person on person. Of course, this follows the game. This is an area from the video game. Though in the video game I think you either do have to take them all out, or you can choose to sort of get out, I think. I don't remember the gameplay of The Last of Us 2 that very well. I just know the story beats, because I've only seen Let's Plays of it. But I digress. They manage to escape, Ellie and Dina do, and end up in a lower area where the trains and stuff run. So, the group of WLF continue to chase them, and as one of the flares drops next to the cordyceps receptors, I'll call them, I guess, the infected begin to rile up and make their way there, taking out that entire group, presumably, as now it is a race with Dina and Ellie trying to get out of that situation. So, of course, now we have had, people versus people. Now we have people, two individuals versus infected. So this episode has a little bit of everything in terms of, I think that there was this bizarre worry that this show wasn't going to keep the infected in mind, and I found that I highly doubted that was going to be the case. Based on episode 2, I think they know how to balance at this point between the human tension between human versus human, but keeping the infected in mind, and, maintaining that they're a threat. Now, I digress in saying that the previous episode did not feature any infected, but I do think that was very much needed, as I had mentioned in that episode, that that pacing lull of that we just reached in the high of heights, as it were. So to dip back down to let people sort of take a breath, like if they were, especially if they were binge watching, but I prefer obviously waiting, but it still carries that vibe of we're gonna slow things down. And again, we're just ramping right back up. It's like a roller coaster ride, as I'm kind of presenting here. Because this episode, as I mentioned, just rises right back up, and it's going to dip right back down in the very same episode this time around. But as they're trying to escape, Ellie sacrifices another bite with Dina present this time. And they proceed to get to the theater where a bunch of other bad stuff happens, because I'm, again, aware of the story beats, so wonder how they're going to handle those. And, yeah. It very much is a double reveal as Dina, as we proceed to walk through certain environment. They were like in this medical part at some earlier juncture in the episode. She discovers, but she holds back. And now Ellie has gotten bitten, so both of their, as implied, secrets are latently on the table. So Ellie must reveal that she is finally bitten to Dina, and after Dina realizes that she is telling the truth, she relays that she is discovered, as earlier in the episode had mentioned, Dina is now pregnant. And thus, the two celebrate by having the emotional sex scene. And you know what? I would say, Ellen, just so it's clear, I do think that the whole part of, ramping up, as I was mentioning, there is a part where the two reach a guitar store, and you have Ellie perform an entire song, and it's very much like, yeah, Joel taught her. So it's not like, the show is gonna be, again, neglecting that, that he had influence on her life. So, yeah. I think this episode is a continuation of, paying of that respect, or from the previous episode when they visited the grave. And, because I've seen other reviewers saying how it's just like the video game, how they disrespected Joel, and, I agree with that version, because that version made Joel stupider to perform those actions, but I do feel like that mistake was remedied here on the show. So yeah, now we're, again, just following these two, as, again, I think the writers know when to ramp things up. Keeping in mind where things were in the video game is very handy, I would say. Because if I do recall correctly, I do think that this is the order of how things go in Seattle Day 1, essentially. That you do actually end up in a tunnel area and do fight more infected down there in the game. So, again, following the beats of the video game, keeping it, a faithful adaptation in terms of when these things actually appear. So yeah, I think moving forward, I know it's a weird spot to say, but from episode 4, I think it's a safe, sure spot that I think The Last of Us has found its groove. I think that's a safe thing to say. I think that the people criticizing it are, far-reaching and criticizing the wrong cast choices, which I don't believe at this point. I mean, again, I've said this in the previous review where I said, if they found Season 1 so good, which they claim to do, then I don't get their criticisms for Season 2. It just doesn't fit. And here, like I said, I criticized the previous episode with the whole Seraphite thing. I still find that one a little bit baffling, but... So I am still willing to criticize the show. I'm not here to, favor the show by any means. I'm being as objective as possible. And in episode 4, I would say, I think this might actually even be tighter than episode 2, dare I say. There definitely was, criticisms of how things were moving and to keep certain characters safe that I can understand from that level of criticism. That makes sense to criticize. Plot armor, as it were. But this episode felt a lot tighter in terms of just you actually sense the danger, that particularly more so Dina than Ellie because of the immunity. But, Ellie could presumably still get mauled to death. Just because she is immune does not, it doesn't completely remove her, the stakes of her life being in danger. Obviously, that is the case. And very much so, the bite is the bites are a softer reminder of that, I suppose, is a good way of putting it. So yeah, I would argue that episode 4 might actually be the best episode so far. Because I'm trying to think of things to criticize, and I'm coming up a little bit short on this one. I found this script much tighter. I found the stakes much crispier. The plot armor didn't seem present here as it did in episode 2. I felt that the romance section, which is the tail end of the episode, felt natural. I'm gonna say it. I think episode's the best one so far. There you go. So that's my review of episode 4, Secrets. So if you ended up enjoying this review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to look in that description. I want to have you to my petition about small YouTubers. Second, to my PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly. And third, to my Discord server. You can join Collab Shield, all that cool stuff. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.